Hi, welcome back to Breslov Pirkey Avot. Today we're going to look at chapter 1, Mishnah 17. B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. So we'll start right away with the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Shimon beno omer, Kol yamai gadalti ben hachachamim, velo matzati laguf tov ela shtika, velo hamidrash hu ha'ikar ela ma'aseh, v'kol hamarbe dvarim mevih chet. Shimon, his son, Rabbi Gamliel's son, said, All my days I have grown up among the sages, and I have found nothing better for a person than silence. Study is not the main thing, but action, and whoever speaks excessively causes sin. Wow, there's a lot there to unpack, so let's go straight into Breslov insights. Nothing better for a person than silence. Says Rabbi Nassan, to attain bitul, which is self-nullification or transcendence of ego, you must suspend all awareness of physical sensation, even involuntary sensations, until your body is perfectly at rest. Your eyes are still, your lips are still, and your limbs do not move. All awareness becomes nullified completely to the infinite light, to the ultimate reality that is absolute goodness, absolute oneness. Right? So what here he's talking about, the best way to connect, the best way to see and feel the grandness of Hashem is to sit in absolute silence, in absolute relaxation, and allow yourself to be engulfed by that silence. Wow. Study is not the main thing, but action. Reb Nassan writes, It is written, God made man, Adam, straight, but they sought many complications. This refers to the first man, Adam, who was created perfect, but who ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, setting the stage for the sin of they sought many machinations. This is the sin of those who enter into areas of thought beyond their intellect, and as a result end up denying the deepest truths of our Torah. So here, I want to focus on the first part. He says that God made us simple, straight, right, without any complications. But we look for complications. I think what Rav Nassan is teaching us here is that the best way for us to be is simple, right? Is really not to overthink, not to look for where everything is wrong, but rather assume everything is right and live our lives that way. We were created in a way that we're perfect. But our narratives and our stories and our complications are all born within us, right? So when we're just in study, when we're just contemplating, when we're just overthinking and we're not doing, well, that's not really going to take us to anything that we're supposed to get to, because it's only going to create more and more stories in our head. We're going to move into the digest of commentaries, where it says, And I have found nothing better for a person than silence. As our sages state, silence benefits the wise, and all the more so, the foolish. Silence is an interesting thing. There's that saying that they say, God created us with 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we listen twice as much as we speak. There's 2 types of silences that we, in our day-to-day actions, can connect to. There's the silence where we are just quiet. And then there's the silence where we're quiet, but we're just waiting to see when we can speak next, right? But the true silence, when you're actually open to listening to somebody else, opening to listening to the birds, opening to listening, there's so much information being transmitted to your body in that silence. In other words, when you quiet your mind, your body and your soul can absorb everything that it needs. But when there's all this noise, then our sensitivity to those subtle things that only silence brings is kind of lost. Continuing, he says, the digest of commentary says, Study is not the main thing, but action. Even when it comes to Torah study, the main reward is reserved for the deed. Another interpretation, whoever does not practice what he preaches would better be off remaining silent and not preaching. Yet another interpretation, rather than give long-winded sermons, one should try to do something practical and fix what needs to be fixed. We see this at right when Bnei Israel is about to cross the Red Sea. Moses and the people start screaming out to God and praying, and God says, whoa, stop praying. This isn't a time for prayer. This is time for action. right? If all the time all we're doing is learning and learning and learning, and we're never doing, we're never putting things into practice, then our learning is for nothing. And if all we're doing is putting into practice but we're not learning, then that's also not good. We need to find the balance of both studying and learning and growing, but also putting all of these things into action, right? It's speak a little and do a lot, as opposed to speak a lot and do a little. And I think that the more energy we put into words about what we are going to do, I think that removes energy from the actual action of doing it, right? But if we talk a little bit, meaning we know we have a plan, and then we start doing it, well, then we don't really need to talk about what we're doing, because our actions are proving and showing that which we would normally say. Okay, continuing, and whoever speaks excessively causes sin. As the teachers, I don't know where this went. As the teachers of Musar taught, lock up your tongue as you would lock up your treasures. By minimizing your speech, you minimize your mistakes, right? There's always a thing of saying like, oh man, I said too much. If I would have just kept quiet. There's also a subject about the blessing being found in that which is hidden from the eye. In other words, that which we keep quiet is where all the blessings are going to be found, but that which we speak about a lot, well, we dilute it, right? So we need to watch our words and make sure that we're just not speaking too much just to hear our own voices. Sweat and toil. After the death of Hasidic master Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Horowitz, known as the seer of Lublin, people sought to purchase anything that he owned as a way of providing income for his widow, and, even more so, because they valued everything connected with the great tzadik. One person offered several hundred rubles for the seer's yarmulke, kippah. Hearing the price, the widow took great pains to wash the yarmulke and presented it to the new owner. The buyer was flabbergasted. Do you think I paid so much because I wanted a clean kippah? I wanted the seer's sweat from the efforts he put into his devotions, right? See, sometimes the value isn't the thing, but rather the effort that we do with it. We learn that a lot. We see that a lot with our children. Sometimes your child will work on this, like drawing. He'll work on it for hours, and they'll do it, and they'll toil over it. And like you'll look at it, and the drawing itself isn't anything special. But the value and the effort that your child put into it makes that such a valuable gift. Continuing in Breslov Insights, truly no man can know God intellectually. As the Zohar states, no thought whatsoever can grasp him. Only by choosing the simple path of right action, that is, by performing the mitzvot with happiness and joy, can one be worthy of ascending above and approaching the Infinite One, reaching and not reaching. Continuing, Rabbi Nachman teaches, here the Mishnah teaches us that we must put aside all forms of cleverness and serve God with utter simplicity. It goes without saying that this refers to false cleverness, which is clearly foolish, but it also includes genuine forms of cleverness. When the time comes to perform an act of devotion, even those with truly great minds should cast aside all sophistication and serve God with simplicity. We've lost the simplicity. Things are very accessible to us. Knowledge is very accessible. And I think with all of the availability of information, we've lost the ability to just focus on simplicity. In Pesach, which just ended, we eat matzah, which is just going back to the basic bread, water, and flour, right? In times, especially when we're serving Hashem, we can have all the thought process in the preparation, right? In the intention setting, in the desire to do. But when we're doing the deed, when we're doing the mitzvah, when we're going on that journey of the mitzvah, we've got to trust that we have the right intentions and be 100% present in the simplest form to do the act that's in front of us. You see, if we get too much in our mind, if we get too much and just thinking too much and we're going to miss out on the beauty of the simplicity of the present moment, the simplicity of the power of the mitzvah. And when you can get the power from the simple, then you know that you'll never be able to complicate it and overthink it, because it's always easy to get back to the basics when we remember. Reb Nassan teaches, one who wishes to attain the perfection of prayer must beg God to provide for his spiritual needs, above and beyond his physical needs. His entire purpose should be to serve God in utter awe. As King David declared, "One thing I ask of God, this alone I shall seek, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the pleasantness of God and to meditate in his sanctuary." This kind of prayer is not secondary to Torah study. On the contrary, it represents the fulfillment of the Torah, inasmuch as one's request is only to fulfill the Torah. As our sages state, study is not the main thing, but action. So here I want to touch on what David HaMelech says. King David says, he says, I want to get to your house like it's new every single time, but I want it to be like I'm there every day. And there, this is the feeling of we also see it from Aaron HaKohen, that every time he went to light the candles of the menorah, he would do it like it was his first time, right? So we want to serve God out of this way that we're comfortable, we're confident in our service, but we also want to do it with the simple excitement of the first time that we've ever done it. And it's this duality of like, in as much as I can go into the depths of understanding, I can enjoy the simplicity of the action. And I think that that's where we get lost, is not tapping back into the simplicity of action, because we've gotten overcomplicated in the preparation and in the intention and in the learning. And here it also says that, to attain the perfection of prayer, one must beg God. And he uses the word beg. When I remember once there was a story where I found myself in a place and a dog was really running at me to attack me. And the sages teach us a certain verse that you say. I don't know if I've said this before, but you say the verse and it's supposed to stop a dog if it's attacking you. And I said the verse, but when I said that verse, I said it like my life depended on it. And the dog stopped in its tracks. Now, I don't know if it was because of how I said it or because of what I said, but I understood how we're supposed to pray. You see, when you pray like your life depends on it, you break open the heavens and you get everything. But if you pray half-assed, like, I'm kind of, I'm on the way, send me this and send me that and do this and do that, and you don't really beg, then you're really not putting your entire energy into it. And so therefore, your expectations of what you get in return should be similar of what you put in. Because life is kind of made in a way that you usually take out what you put in. So when you put in the sincere begging, then you're putting yourself in a very humble place, and then you're just a perfectly fixed receptacle to just receive the blessing. Moving along, Rav Nassan teaches that the Torah describes the revelation at Mount Sinai as follows. On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning, with a heavy cloud upon the mountain, and a powerful, loud blast of a shofar. The entire mountain trembled violently, and the sound of the shofar became louder and louder. The fact that the revelation at Mount Sinai was accompanied by the sound of the shofar alludes to the unification of Torah and prayer. That is, when we learn Torah, which is a revelation of God's will from above, we must internalize it to such an extent that it literally becomes part of us. Then, when we turn Torah into prayer by asking God to enable us to fulfill the very thing that he has commanded, in this way we draw down new revelations of Torah into the world in our prayer, which expresses our desire to come close to God, reaches correspondingly greater heights. This awakens in us a desire to return to God and to fulfill the entire Torah. This is the essence of the shofar. So you see, when we do things in the right way, and we the Torah is supposed to give us life, right? And when we dedicate our life to fulfilling the Torah, we do it in the right way, then it's going to give us even more life, which is going to give us more strength to even fulfill more Torah. And we get into this upward spiral of just spiritual growth and light, right? Because when we do this with our heart and our soul, it changes our DNA, it changes our frequency. The shofar is also related to yira, to fear and awe. It is written, if a shofar is sounded in the city, shall the people not tremble? Awe of God is an aspect of prayer. As implied in the verse, awe of God means to pray. This is why the revelation at Mount Sinai was accompanied by the sound of the shofar, to show that the Torah is not complete until it is transformed into prayer, which is an aspect of awe. Through true awe, we merit to fulfill the Torah through action, which is the main purpose for which it was given. As the Mishnah states, study is not the main thing, but action. See, this concept, I mean, I relate to this a lot. I know that like in Rosh Hashanah, when we're there and we're in the silent Amida and suddenly we hear the shofar, like just, it does something to me. There's a sound, this resonance of the shofar that it I don't know, it moves me, right? And it's that, it's almost like it wakes up this like, the king is coming, and that's the awe. It's like this mixture of excitement and nerves and fear and love and everything all together, that when you tap into it, it's empowering, right? And the action and the study and the prayer, getting all of these things, it just, again, it's this upward spiral of this pure, simple yet awesome light. And Rav Nassim continues and he teaches that in order to truly acquire Torah, we must study diligently in the holy yeshivot of the true tzaddikim. Proximity to the tzaddikim is vital, for each of us constantly requires much profound advice, particularly when everything seems dark. At such times, even the most obvious advice, which is likened to the light of day, can become obscured. Therefore it is written, the day will withhold its light. Then we must seek the advice of the tzaddikim with even greater determination, crying out from the depths of our hearts. You ever lived something where like you were looking for something everywhere, like you couldn't find it, then you ask somebody, hey, can you help me look for my keys? They're like, dude, they're right there in front of your face. Or the classic one where your glasses are on top of your head and you spend half an hour looking for your glasses. There's this thing that sometimes we don't see the answers, even if they're right in front of us. So when we surround ourselves by people that try to fill themselves with light, people whose actions are those actions that you would want to do, people that you say, wow, that person's bringing light, the tzaddikim, then oftentimes they'll just help you see what's right in front of you, right? And it's not talking about like today tzaddikim, let's just say that anybody is a tzaddik and everybody is a tzaddik. Anybody that makes you feel like you want to be better is a tzaddik in that moment for you. And if anybody that's going to help you on your path, right? And when we understand that we need these lights, that we're not in this alone, that when there is a light that attracts us and we go to it, and we ask it, and we connect it to it, and we make it our vessel, then so it becomes, and it becomes our vessel. And the cleaner and the purer and the more connected we feel to that vessel, well, the more light can flow through and we can get it. The more we strive to return to the realm of holiness, however, the more the evil inclination will attack us. For the greater a person, the greater his evil inclination. Therefore, we must diligently study the illuminating advices of the tzaddikim in order to fulfill the Torah and its mitzvot, which is our most important undertaking and the primary instruction in the yeshivot of the tzaddikim. As the Mishnah states, study is not the main thing, but action. Here it's an interesting concept. It says basically the stronger you get, the stronger your challenges are, which makes sense. If I go to a gym and I hire a personal trainer and I want to get bigger, and the personal trainer just gives me the same weights every day, well, I'm never going to get bigger. I'm going to eventually try to find a new personal trainer, right? So the stronger I get, the more weights I need to put because, well, I should be able to lift them. So too, the more light we transmit, the more light we connect to, well, the more we're going to be able, or the more we're going to be challenged to stick to that light. And when we surround ourselves by people that have either gone through what we're going through, or are going through, and we get a support group, a community, a tzaddik, a rabbi, or a group of tzaddikim, and we realize that we're not in this alone, and we connect to the light, that's how we can transcend to the higher levels, to the next place that we need to get to. And the action here, which is implied, is all of seeking out light, of seeking out the tzaddik, of seeking out those things that are going to get you closer, well, to the source. Even when the tzaddik grasps a most lofty and hidden perception, he is not content until he knows how to use it to inspire others to repentance and the performance of good deeds. Right? It's like when you discover something really cool, you want to share it with everybody because it worked for you. I mean, isn't that a tzaddik? Right? When you find light and all you want to do is share that light with everybody around you, not because you want to get anything out of them, but just because look how good this light is. This is what constituted the preeminence of Moses, who received all the mitzvot of the Torah and taught the Jewish people the correct ways to perform them. In this, he surpassed all the tzaddikim who preceded him. Although the patriarchs and other tzaddikim who lived prior to Moses attained many lofty mystical perceptions, they did not receive the Torah, nor did they bring the performance of the mitzvot into the world, aside from those few mitzvot that they inculcated among their family members, as our sages state. By contrast, Moses merited to receive the Torah and mitzvot in their entirety and to transmit them to the Jewish people, for he grasped the hidden mysteries in a manner that would lead to action. You ever spoken to somebody that's like really, really smart and really understands things, and when you try to get an explanation, it's so far over your head that you walk out like, yeah. Moses had the ability to take the most lofty concepts and feed them to us in a way that we could digest them and use them and turn them into action. Moses was succeeded by all the tzaddikim who devoted themselves to disseminating the observance of Torah and mitzvah. The perfection of the tzaddik's spiritual stature and his perception of hidden mysteries enable him to develop sage advice, spiritual pathways, and strategies that will bring others to right action. This comprises the perfection of the hidden mysteries. As the Mishnah states, study is not the main thing, but action. See, the more you do, the more you're in the toil, the more you're searching for truth, the more you're in the way of the tzaddikim, the way of light, then that's the action that the Torah is talking about. Therefore, the revelation of the hidden is associated with the declaration of those who stood at Mount Sinai. We will do and we will understand. That is, we will do is an extension of we will understand. Through action, do you get real understanding? I mean, who would you prefer to perform a surgery? The doctor that got straight A's and knows every single bit of information but's never performed a surgery? Or the guy that didn't pass all of his tests but he has 1,000 surgeries under his belt? Right? If it's only study that doesn't lead to action, then there's no experience and it's not brought within. But the action is what brings the study into like really to root, to really make a difference. Return to God. Rav Nassan teaches the power of return, the power of teshuvah, is received only from the true tzaddikim, who throughout their lives, and even after their passing from the world, strive to bring everyone back to God. All the Torah teachings they reveal are for this purpose, to return us to the good and inspire us to return, for study is not the main thing, but action. And I think one of the biggest things that make a true tzaddik a tzaddik is that every action that they take, or most of the actions that they take, you can see the love and the service of the divine. You can see that there is no mundane for them. The connection is constant. And it's contagious. Like when you see a person or people that can truly encompass this relationship that's constant with the divine, it inspires you, and that transcends, because the second that you even more so by your actions, inspire change in others, that's when you truly transcend. Rabbi Nachman teaches us, do not let a word of wickedness leave your mouth. Do not say that you will commit a sin or be wicked, even though you may be joking and have no intention of carrying out your words. The words themselves can do great damage and later compel you to fulfill them. This is true even if they are uttered as a joke. King Jehu said, Ahab served the Baal a little, Jehu will serve it much. These words were his downfall. When King Jehu said these words, he had absolutely no intention to commit idolatry. He only said this to trick the worshippers of the Baal, as explained in the next verse. Still, this was his downfall, and he later committed idolatry. The Talmud speaks about this and derives the lesson. A covenant is made with the lips. Thus you should be very careful with what you say. God created the world with words, and the power of words is so much so that it creates realities. And we believe that our words are stam, like just whatever, they're just words. I'm just kidding, I didn't mean it. But that's not true. Because even if, obviously, we are not God, But if God instilled within words the power to create, then there's some sort of speck of that power within the words that we say. So when we say things that either are the opposite of the truth, well, we give that opposite of truth life. And when we make a joke, even though it's just a joke, we give that joke life. So when we make an expression, a nickname, a sarcastic comment, whatever it is, we should be conscious that even if it's just a little bit, we are building our reality. So in closing, may first of all, just to end on what we, as a segue, may we always try to fill our words with light, our mouth with the words of Torah, which is, again, the words of truth and light. May we find those tzaddikim in our paths, those people that just inspire us to be better people, those people that inspire us to get more connected. May we merit finding our source, finding our, not source, but finding that channel that we can connect to so that we can receive the flow of those things that sometimes are as clear as day, but that we're blinded to see. Bezrat Hashem, may we merit the Mashiach coming, and only good things. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.